Hello everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. I am Varshini from Venkateshwara College of Engineering pursuing Data Science Engineering. Today we will have a short presentation on subject Civil Engineering. My topic for today is solid waste management, category of waste and sources of solid waste. Let us see. Solid waste. So, what is solid waste? It refers to the discarded material that are not liquid or gaseous in form, arising from residential, commercial, industrial, or institutional activities. They include household garbage, construction debris, and electronic waste. So, waste items that we create in our everyday usage, which is not liquid or gaseous, that we are ready to discard, are categorized as solid waste. There are many sources of solid waste, and we will look into a few sources today. Residential sources. Residential sources are household waste that we generate at our homes. It could be onion peels, eggshells, or anything as such. So it is defined as the household waste generated by individuals and families, including discarded items from daily use activities. So the next item we have is commercial sources, waste generated by businesses, shops, markets, and other commercial establishments. Like if, for instance, if we take a grocery shop, there will be so many gunny bags that are going waste every day that they use for transportation and any other things. And there are many other types of waste like carton boxes or anything as such that come under commercial sources. Industrial sources are waste produced by manufacturing processes, factories, and industrial facilities. So, when industries function on a large scale, even the waste produced will be on a large scale. Items such as wrongly or defective items are considered as the largest waste in this kind of source. Sources of solid waste also include these types: institutional sources, waste generated by schools like waste papers or newspapers, old newspapers, etc. Hospitals like use syringes and carry bags and all those things. Government offices and other institutions also include the same thing. So, hazardous sources, many waste products that are formed in chemical or biological labs are very hazardous. They may contain radioactive substances or anything as such. So they can be hazardous or harmful to humans and other animals. So waste materials that are potentially harmful due to chemical or biological or physical characteristics are categorized as hazardous waste. Public spaces. In public spaces, for instance, we eat potato chips and we just throw the bag or the cover away. Such waste generations are categorized as public spaces, waste generated in public spaces. So they also including in streets, in parks, and in recreational areas, etc. Now, why is it important to manage this waste properly? Solid waste management is crucial for environmental preservation, public health, and sustainable resource usage. It also prevents pollution and reduces health risks and conserve energy and etc. So, what does it mean when we say crucial for environmental preservation? As we all know, plastic is a big challenge to our current day situation because we see plastic everywhere. We see innocent animals that are being harmed by these plastic and other harmful items. And why is it happening? Because of improper management of that waste. We have the municipality actually collecting our waste regularly and then still cleaning, but still it is so ineffective that we see waste almost everywhere. So these are some, and these things actually we can notice a lot of insects and all those things breeding near such unhygienic areas, which can cause public health issues like spread of infectious diseases, etc. That is what is why it is important to manage the waste. look into the types and challenges. There are many types of municipal waste. Few of them are listed. Municipal solid waste (MSW), which is the everyday household waste, as we discussed, the eggshells, peels, and we leftover food and all those things. Hazardous wastes are potentially harmful materials requiring special handling due to their determinal effects on health and environment. As we discussed earlier, hazardous wastes are the wastes that are generated by biomedical and chemical research centers usually, which may be researching or containing radioactive and other such substances which can cause hazardous problems to humans and other animals. And industrial waste, byproducts of manufacturing processes often containing chemical and pollutants. So, if, as we discussed earlier, this also industrial waste is where industries producing the large scale waste as byproduct of their production. These are also, they also contain a lot of chemicals and they can be very harmful. Electronic waste or e-waste, discarded electronic devices containing valuable but potentially hazardous chemical materials. A lot of like unused or discarded electronic items like our hard disks, motherboard, or any other internal or external devices contain certain materials that can be hazardous also, but these come under the category of electronic waste because that is the hierarchy they fall under. Next, we have construction and demolition waste, debris generated from construction, renovation, and demolition activities, including concrete, wood, and metal. So, when we can notice around us as the reconstruction is occurring somewhere, the pre-existing building is broken down, which leads to large chunks of concrete, cement, and iron, bricks, and other all those things. These waste come under the construction and demolition waste. Now, what are the few challenges that we are going to face? They are urbanization, rapid growth of cities leading to increased waste generation or strain on resources. Now, as urbanization is occurring everywhere, people from rural areas and villages are shifting to urban cities and all those places. So in this process, the people that are being managed is a larger, so it becomes very hard to manage the waste generated by so many people. And also strain on resources emphasizes on how a lot of natural resources is drained for the process of creation and management of this waste that we are talking about. The next point is population. Higher population result in more waste production, necessitating efficient management systems. Now, if we just take as an example, the waste generated by one person is easy to manage. But if we look at the waste generated by 1,000 people, 2,000 people or more, it is very large and hard to manage such kind of waste. So that is what this point emphasizes on, and it requires efficient management systems if we are dealing with a larger population of people. So infrastructure is the inadequate management. Infrastructure contributes to improper disposal practices. Now, if we don't have the proper infrastructure that is required to manage the volume of waste that we are managing, how is it even possible to manage all the waste that is being generated? Now, due to challenges like urbanization and population, there's a lot of waste already being formed, and this waste has to be managed, and for which proper infrastructure and machinery are very, very important. Environmental and health impacts. For environmental impacts, we have inefficient solid waste management practices contribute to the release of pollutants into air, soil, and water, resulting in environmental degradation. Now, if we look, we ourselves we notice a lot of public spaces being thrown with plastic and all those uh, unnecessary. Some people throw medicines and all very carelessly into the soil and outside. So from this, the soil can lose its what do you call nutrients and those things, and it becomes very brittle and of no use. And it's some we have seen a lot of people burning wastes with matches and all. They just burn it everywhere around the road and here and there. So by in this, what happens? The carbon monoxide and all those things result in a lot of air pollution also. Water pollution is where we notice everywhere. That is also very common. It's like we go to visit a lake and then we see chips packets and biscuit packets floating on the water and all those things. These are causes and like, the problems that we are facing. and habitat destruction, soil contamination, and the release greenhouse gases contributing for long-term ecological harm, affecting biodiversity and ecosystems. By such practices, as an instance, if we take soil, when we throw such unwanted medicines and all those things into the soil, there are many insects and like earthworms, it's example, these things live in the soil and they use the soil as a major part of their life system. So by contaminating things like that, we are causing harm to those animals, and many such animals, actually rodents that live under the soil, are being harmed. Similarly, all the water animals or fishes are harmed by throwing plastic and other items into chemical discharge into or nearby lakes and rivers are also causing a lot of fishes and other water animals to die. Such way it is affecting the biodiversity and ecosystems. And what are the health impacts? Improper waste disposal creates breeding grounds for disease vectors. Now, as we spoke before, if you see water stagnated in some area, within 1 or 2 days we'll notice small mosquitoes and small weird kind of germs or something that starts growing in those areas. These actually give breeding centers, act as breeding centers for a lot of diseases like dengue, malaria, etc. Air and water pollution from waste can cause respiratory and waterborne illness, like for example, as we just discussed, malaria and those things. And these are to be safeguarded so we can have better public health in our country. What are the few strategies for waste reduction? Now, first is recycling programs. We can recycle a lot of things like plastic and other items that we use every day. So for this, we have to collect and process the materials for reuse and produce new materials that are in demand. Composting is a process for organic or the or wet waste that is generated at our homes. We can just use a small pit of mud and then dump our mm, compostable items into it and cover it and use it as good nutrients for plant growth, etc. Resource reduction, minimizing the waste at its origin and promoting practices that reduce the generation of unnecessary materials. Like we are just targeting the source of all this, where we can try to produce less waste in the first place, so we can make it easier for managing the waste, that is smaller waste that is produced. Reuse initiatives, where encouraging the products of for reuse for a longer lifespan through repair or refurbishment, etc. So we can use materials or objects that can be reused by washing, or instead of using like use and throw plates in some certain 8 times, we can use steel or glass plates that we can wash again and reuse it. So by this way we are reducing the waste being created. But not least, I would like to thank all of you for watching this video, and we shall meet in the next video. Thank you.